Say
Why can't you
anything.
just say anything?
I'm gonna say anything.
People just say anything.
I swear, people just say anything. Welcome to Say Anything with Keena B. Hello and welcome to Say Anything with Keena B. I am Keena B. Thank you for listening today. Thank you for gracing me with your presence. I appreciate it so much. And hopefully we're going to have some fun today. We're just going to conversate about a few different things. But first, I want to give a shout out to a listener and a family member who listened to last week's podcast and shared with me her dump and keep list for 2025. Now, I won't share her name because she's a private person, but I will share one thing that she said she is keeping, which is Oreo cookies and milk. I find that really, really great. I love that for you. I love that for you because I can't do cookies or the milk. But I love that you can do cookies and milk, okay? But she did say she had to switch to lactose free. And then one thing that she is dumping, listening to broadcast news. I agree. Broadcast news is so opinionated, and they just do not present things with a even hand anymore. Nothing is balanced, nothing is neutral. It is all their personal opinion. And if I wanted your personal opinion, then we can have a show that's called Your Personal Opinion, right? Like this show is called Say Anything. So therefore I can give my personal opinion. That's what you would tune in for, my personal opinion. I'm not presenting myself as a broadcast journalist. So I think when people present themselves as journalists or news broadcasters, then that's what you need to do. You need to present the news without your opinion. So I completely agree with dumping broadcast news. And thank you so much, my Houston listener, for tuning in. We'll be back after this break.
At Wimbias Market, we specialize in local and global artwork. Find spectacular work by Zambian modern artist Ringo Bryant's Chilashay, Florida ceramist Gloria Nicholson, and naturalist painter Lily M. Clark. Alternative payment options are available on select artwork. Located at 23 North Madison Street, Quincy, Florida, in the historic downtown area. Wimbias Market. Come for the culture, return for the connection.
Welcome back. Thank you for sticking around. I truly, truly appreciate it. And if you have any comments, remember, you please leave your feedback. Leave your comments about the episode. Hashtag say anything with Keena B, or just hashtag say anything. And I appreciate all your comments. Please keep them coming. Okay, so today I'm going to start off with a little story, and then we'll get into the conversation itself. When I was going to college, or some of you call it university, I was in my early 20s, like late teens, early 20s. And I was what they would call a resident advisor, or an RA, or basically like a dorm mother, which made me have to be responsible for certain things. But one of the things that I had to do was have like monthly events. And so I had an event, because these events had to be both educational and fun. But basically, we had to present things like a workshop, building relationships, so on and so forth. So I discussed gossip. I had an entire hour workshop around gossip. Now, mind you, at the time I was going for, I was living in a dorm. It was not a co-ed dorm. It was all female dorm. And we were trying to tackle certain issues of animosity within the dorms that were popping up. And so the discussion was to have a gossip. So I did a gossip type of workshop. And there was about 20 people who attended because it wasn't a mandatory meeting. And so one of the exercises, and I'm sure you have done this in your lifetime, one of the exercises was you put everybody in a circle, you say something at the beginning of the circle, go around, each person is supposed to whisper the same thing that you said to the other person next to them, directly to the person next to them. And then by the time it gets back to you, the message would have been changed. Now that's how it's supposed to go. Because the whole lesson to be learned is that gossip can destroy people's reputations. It never starts off like it never finishes like it starts, that it always gets twisted, and that it could be bad for people, so please don't gossip, right? That's not what happened. If I remember clearly, what happened in my group was that what I said was exactly what was said back to me once it got around the group of 20. In the exact way, same exact way, the message never changed, right? Now, what I did notice, though, and observed, was that people trickled in and out of the conversation. Like, basically, the circle changed as time grew on, and there were people who came in later who had not been a part of the original activity that was started at the beginning of the workshop. So the people who trickled in after the fact were not privy to what took place before. Why is this important? Because later in life, what I have noticed and I have observed is that when you are outside of the circle, okay, when you are outside of the circle, people will automatically assume that you are aware of the message that took place within the circle, not realizing that you were not privy to that at the beginning. And so take that circle and apply it to your family or your friends. And if a message was received within the circle from somebody, and then someone who was not there at the time that it was received never heard about it, and then later on, but everybody assumes that they know, that can cause confusion. That can cause a misalignment. It may even cause a rift in relationships because there are people who have knowledge that someone else doesn't, and they're assuming because they are aware that that person is aware. What is that? I've noticed that, particularly in the last few years, I've noticed that there are several things that I was not aware. I have not been aware of people being sick until they passed away. Later on, I've not been aware that people were having marital issues until they got divorced, because certain things I either wasn't around, out of town, out of just not in the loop, not in the circle. And I'm not on social media like everybody else is. I'm on social media for business, not really personal. And occasionally I'll do a personal post, but for the most part, my personal posts are private within a certain sized group. The same size group I would normally talk to on a normal basis. Like, these are people that I probably have talked to on the phone within the last week or two. So therefore, they would have my information, and they probably knew it before I ever even posted it. But business is mostly what I do online. So if you are like me, and you pretty much keep to yourself, what do you do about the lack of knowledge, the gap, when it comes to other people? It's like reverse gossip. Does it? Is there a term for this? where it is almost necessary for you to be in the loop in order to know what's going on in people's lives, but you find yourself constantly out of it? Or is it necessary to be in the loop? I actually don't mind not being in the loop, you know, um, mainly because I feel like when you know so much about other people's lives, there's this silent expectation that they should know more about yours. And I don't share like that about personal details to just everybody. It is because I feel like certain things should be private. Like I've had medical surgeries that I did not broadcast. I've had, you do things that you don't necessarily share with everyone because one, it's not necessary. But two, it impacts more than just your personal life. Like it may impact others around you, immediately around you. So I wonder if anybody else, if you're understanding what I'm saying, has felt this way where you're not directly inside of the circle. You're not in the inner circle, but people assume that you know. And I am of the philosophy that unless you tell me directly, I don't know. Even if it comes secondhand knowledge from somebody else, I still don't know. Because particularly if it's bad news, I don't know until you tell me. Like I don't, because if you wanted me to know, I would know. That's how I feel about that, right? Particularly if it's bad news. Okay, my mom used to say this, she used to repeat this to me that a friend of hers told her, or a colleague told her years ago. And she would say, some things are a need to know, right? Do you actually need to know that person's business, personal business, business? And if you don't, why are you even worried about it? I think my only concern is when people perceive that you do know and they act and speak to you as if you know context that you don't know. There's a concept called curse of knowledge, which I'm applying it to this situation, even though technically it is not with regards to gossip. Curse of knowledge is with regards to expertise about a particular subject matter. It's when a person, like maybe you went to school to be an engineer, so you have a lot of background in engineering, but you are speaking to an audience of people who does not have that specialized training that you have, and you're supposed to be speaking with them or giving a presentation about something where your knowledge does come into play, but you're assuming that they are on the same level that you are and you're speaking above their level. So they're not catching anything that you're saying. They're not understanding anything that you are portraying. Switch engineering with any other specialty. You could be a doctor, you could be a lawyer, you could be a journalist, you could be an HVAC tech, whatever your personal specialty is, you are assuming that the audience that you're speaking to is on the same level as you with the information, and therefore you're already over their heads before they even begin. They don't understand the context. They don't know the breakdown. And it happens with teachers as well, because they have the knowledge. They have to be able to break it down to their students at a level that the student would understand. But a lot of times, sometimes, not a lot of times, sometimes that does not happen because their knowledge is so far ahead that the ability to break it down is not as easy. That is called curse of knowledge. Now, I am applying it to the situation of gossip. For lack of a better term, I'm using the word gossip because it is the best way for me to say that information is being relayed to others outside of them directly telling you themselves. So once it's no longer you directly telling someone, it's secondhand information, it is gossip. Good or bad, because not all gossip is bad and not all gossip is negative. Sometimes it's just a way of relating information. This is how people find out about new restaurants or new businesses or a really good book. That's really, it's talking, which is gossip, right? So that's why I'm using the term gossip. Well, what happens when your curse of knowledge, you are speaking from a place where you know what you're speaking of and the context behind what you're speaking about. For example, someone is sick in the family and you are speaking about a situation involving that person without saying that this person is sick to the person that you're speaking to. So the only thing that the person you're speaking to knows is the overarching issue that you're talking about without understanding the context of the family member is sick. And so they're not able to really give any good information or advice, especially if you're asking for advice regarding the situation, because they don't know the underlying issue. They don't know what's associated with it. And that can cause confusion, right? That can cause confusion. Oh, such and such is getting a divorce. I'm so sorry that's happening to them. Yes, we are. We're sorry that that's happening to them. But the person relaying the information failed to also say such and such is getting a divorce because such and such cheated or such and such had a baby out of wedlock. So the person receiving the information only knows the overarching issue, which is such and such is getting a divorce. They don't know the underarching issue. They don't know the context, and therefore can say things that may be inappropriate because they don't know the full context. I think that is why people should not share other people's information. If they wanted someone to know, that person would know directly. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. But also, we also have to be careful in presuming that the people that we are talking to know everything that we know. Do they know everything that we know? They may not. They may not know everything that we know, particularly if we're not meaning to be malicious or maligning. We're just sharing information. I'm not a gossiper. I don't like to share information about people, again, because I may not know the whole story, but others might know the whole story. Yeah, so I keep to myself. I keep to myself personally, and I think that the best way to be is for individuals to not speak on topics that they are not directly impacted by. So all I'm saying is if it doesn't affect you, okay, I'm not talking about social, political issues where you are fighting for a cause, right? And I'm not talking about where people are in danger for their lives, okay? I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about just the everyday situations that happen to individuals where now you're privy to some information. Don't go out and share with the entire world what you just heard, particularly if it did not come directly from that person, because you don't know, or you may not know the full context, and certainly if you're sharing it with someone else, they don't know the full context. It's secondhand information, and they're outside the circle. They're outside the circle. They were not privy to the original message. They were not privy to the original message. And therefore, it's not the same message. It's just not, because they were not in the original circle. Now it has changed. Okay. That's my thoughts on that. What are your thoughts on that? Okay, enough of that. So now, this last week, a lot of things have happened in the news. There have been ongoing fires in California, in and around Los Angeles. President Trump has been sentenced on his hush money case. He is officially a convicted felon, but his sentence is penalty free with an unconditional discharge. It's so interesting. He will be the first sitting president with a felony conviction. I just, wow, right? And there's so many comments online, like people are of the opinion that if a sitting president can have a felony record, then the ability to hire felons should be reinstated. Like, companies should be a lot more willing to hire convicted felons, given that one was elected. And you know what? They have a point, because he was literally hired for a job by the majority of voters in November. So, put your money where your mouth is for all those individuals, and, hire convicted felons for your employment. You might as well. You just hired one for president. So, what else is going on in the news? I'd be interested in knowing what's going on regionally. Like, what is going on wherever you are? If you're in Florida, tell me what's in the news. If you're in Texas, if you're in Pennsylvania, if you're in California, tell me what is going on in your neighborhood. What is the local tea? What's tea in your neighborhood? Because I know that there's a lot of things going on, but we're so spread out. I think we sometimes lose the perspective of realizing that we are not all in each other's backyards, so we don't know what's going on locally where you are. So share what's going on where you are. Okay, so I have been watching a lot of Netflix over the holidays. Before the new year began, I watched a few things on Netflix, including 6888, the movie produced by Tyler Perry and starring Kerry Washington. The Upshaws just came back on, I think recently, within the last week. And I have been watching this soap opera-esque show called Virgin River. Let me tell you something really funny before I tell you about Virgin River, do you all watch these shows? Do you all have Netflix? Do you watch any type of streaming? Okay, so 6888 for me was a good movie. I gave it a solid 3.5 out of 5 stars, particularly because I think I was comparing it to all other Tyler Perry films. So I said, oh wow, this is really worlds above production-wise other movies, but also because the cast is really great at doing what they did. And I think overall I was moved by the movie. I enjoyed it, and so much so that I watched it twice. So that lets you know that I enjoyed it. I think it was a great family movie, and people should watch it. Now, I watched a couple of comedy specials. Virgin River. If you're into Virgin River, please let me know. This show is hilarious. You ever sit back? It's very soapy. It's like watching daytime television back in the day, where it would take a year to get through one day. You know what I mean? Like they would slow that show down to the point of one episode. So here's the funny thing: soap operas can speed. Time is relative in a soap opera, right? A day, one hour episode could be a whole week if they want to speed it up and make it a whole week. It could be a whole month if they want to, or they can slow it down, and it could be one day for an entire month, like one whole day for an entire month. You get on there and it's the same situation, and they're at a ball or something or a gala, and the whole evening is spread out over a whole month. That is hilarious to me. And so Virgin River pretty much did the same thing. And the writer's strike may have had something to do with it, but this one character named Charmaine was pregnant for 3 separate seasons with twins. That woman was pregnant for 3 separate seasons. And then suddenly within this newest season, she had the babies. And I think that they wrote her off the script. I think they killed her. How infuriating to be pregnant. Your character is pregnant for 3 separate seasons, and then the moment they have the kid, fast forward and you're dead. That is infuriating. I almost laughed, but it was kind of sad too. I was like, no, they didn't kill her off. But I don't know if they really killed her off. It's a cliffhanger. She went missing, and then the last scene you see is somebody walking in her house looking for her, and then it's like ominous music. So anyway, if you like Virgin River, let me know. Let me know if you like Virgin River, if you watch that on Netflix. I also watched, like I said, some comedy specials. Some were good, some were bad. Some were just okay. I like comedy specials where I'm laughing more than 50% of the time. More than 50% of the time. Otherwise, I'm going to turn it off. So basically, every other minute or so, I should be feeling the funny. And I'm not the type of person to laugh just because you are the person, just because I like a comic, and I've liked their previous specials or their movies or whatever the case may be, doesn't mean that I'm going to watch something and just laugh because they are who they are. That's not what I do. So it has to be funny. It has to be leading somewhere. I do like storytelling comedy, though. I find that I like a good story leading into like small jokes leading into a big joke. I watched the Jamie Foxx special. I wasn't a fan of it. It's either I don't know what that was, to tell you the truth. But then again, I've never actually seen Jamie Foxx in person, nor have I ever watched his other previous specials. I think except for when he was on Comedy Jam, or was it Def Comedy Jam. When he would be on there, I would see his comedy, but that was like 5-10 minutes versus a whole hour. So, but I just wasn't a fan of it. It had its moments, but I wouldn't watch it again. And that to me is really the telltale sign of a good comedy special. Would you sit down and watch it again like you've never watched it? Can that same joke hold up 10 years from now? Like, we could go and watch Richard Pryor right now and still laugh. Or I can go and watch some Dave Chappelle specials from back in the day and still laugh. Deion Cole makes me laugh. His bit about practicing the jokes just to see if they hit, that always makes me chuckle. Anyway, so that's that on that. That's pretty much what I did during the break. I watched a lot of streaming and judged every single one of those television shows. every single one. The Upshaws is back on Netflix. Wanda Sykes is funny. I think Wanda Sykes is funny. Mike Epps is funny. They are, I think, together on that show. They really do. They make that show. Their jokes together are really funny. And that's it for television. What did you watch? What did you watch? And that's it for today's podcast. Now, I want you to remember to like, subscribe, and share this podcast to everyone you know. And also share on the social media platforms. Go and join the Instagram page, Say Anything podcast, and join any other social media page that you see me on. Oh, YouTube. That's where I'm at. I'm on YouTube, Spotify, YouTube, and Instagram. And leave comments. Tell me what you think. I need feedback from you all, good or bad. You know, I have thick skin. I can take it. And it only helps me get better. So what subjects do you want to hear about? I had a suggestion from a listener on YouTube, thank you, that wants me to interview the children of veterans. I received your feedback. Thank you so much. Shout out to you. And anyone else who is silently listening, go ahead and don't be afraid to leave a comment. It's okay. I see you. I see you out there, even if you don't comment. But go ahead and leave a comment because I see you out there anyway. So, so thank you. I appreciate you listening. And I hope to see you next week. Remember to go ahead and say that thing that you need to say.